after it played, it was like an earworm. Like that song would not get out of my head.
Drop on by the Clown Cafe.
It bugged me so much of how the lack of black. I'm watching a horror movie. Why is everything lit so bright? I can practically see the LEDs just off camera.
It's insane, right?
Art the Clown.
I'm something different.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to another Modern Horror Movie Talk. I'm your host, Tyler Nichols, and we have a guest today, which, I mean, should be happening a lot nowadays. Mike Conway's back.
How's it going, guys?
You were here a couple episodes ago talking about Children of the Corn, and now we've got something that is more widely praised to talk about. But viewers might notice too, things look a little different. I moved, so this isn't a permanent setup. Things will change. I don't like. I'm establishing right now, right here. I don't like this angle. This isn't going to be how the show looks. I just want to put that out there because trust me, if you don't like it, I don't like it either. So we're gonna push through it. And today we're going to talk about a fun movie. But first, we need to get into some drinks. So, Mike, what are you drinking?
Well, for this episode, I made a drink that I made for my Horror Party Movies episode on April Fool's Day. It's called the Bong Water. It's essentially Bacardi with Chambord and blue carousel and sour mix and pineapple juice. Quite delicious.
Yum. How much does it taste like a Blue Lagoon?
Actually, it tastes pretty much similar.
Yeah, it looked like it, so I was like, ooh, I like that. I love me a Blue Lagoon.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit darker, a little bit more cloudier.
A little more kick to it, I assume, as well.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just going to be keeping unless I get a little bit of inspiration and decide to switch it up just for the sake of our viewers. But I'm in an Oberon mood, so I'm still sticking with the Oberon. And since I'm in the midst of a move, I don't have my nice little glasses, so I'm canning it up today. So cheers.
Cheers, bud.
A toast. Long friendship.
Today, we are talking about Terrifier 2. After being resurrected by a sinister entity, Art the Clown returns to the timid town of Miles County, where he targets a teenage girl and her younger brother on Halloween night. You even got it.
I got it.
See?
I got it. It's the 4K, man. It's nice. It's all nice and pretty.
Ooh, what is that? Is that? I have not seen that cover.
Oh, really? This was what did I get? Oh, Best Buy. I got it from Best Buy.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that is pretty slick looking.
Oh yeah, nice and slick. And then you got the awesome little cover from Creepy Duck.
Yeah,
this
that's
is the Creepy
one that
Duck
I know.
one. Yeah.
Yep, that's the one that I've seen a lot. So, what's your history with Terrifier? What's your opinion of the first film? Because obviously we're doing Terrifier 2, so this is a sequel.
It's one of those that I found randomly while scrolling through Netflix. I think I first saw the image of Art the Clown when they were doing the All Hallows Eve, the little, I guess, anthology video on that one. And then I kept seeing Terrifier pop up, and I thought it looked too cheesy for me, so I never watched it until one of my friends was praising it as one of his favorite movies of the year, so I went and checked it out. I rarely shut a movie off if it makes me feel uncomfortable, and I got past the scene where he cuts the girl in half, but right when he guns her down in the alley, that's when I was like, oh, this is way too much for me, man. So I cut it off, and I put it off to the side for a couple of months. It wasn't until maybe a few months later, I was hanging out with my wife. We had just watched the movie Father's Day by the guys from Trauma. Well, the guys who made, what was that movie? Psycho Gorman. They made Psycho Gorman. And then, so we were watching that one. And I was like, hey, if you like that movie, because surprisingly she did. I thought she was going to hate it. It was like, let's watch Terrifier. And so we put that one on. And after I got past that gun scene, I found the rest of it surprisingly fun. Like, even though I know it's kind of gory.
Need to go over my history with Terrifier as well. I watched it, I want to say about 2018 on Shudder, and was blown away by the exploitation side of it and how much it made me cringe. Like the Saw scene is it's brutal. There are some effects in there that are truly just spectacular. And I mean, the story is whatever, but it just feels like you're going from set piece to set piece, and it works in such an interesting way.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, they say that it's like a throwback to 80s. I don't really think it's like, I mean, I don't see that angle, but I do see like the angle in the exploitation fact that you're talking about.
All right, so we know our histories with Terrifier. Now, Terrifier 2. So I should state right off the bat that I love that Bloody Disgusting was able to put out something, because that's awesome. I mean, we're a movie company as well that hopefully that's in our future in terms of making films ourselves. So it's very cool to see a company doing that. And so I think that aspect is just so cool. And the fact that, I mean, we need horror movies in October. Like, we need them. Why the fuck? The number of Octobers that we get like one decent one and then just like random shit that they just like fucking shit out. Like, I hate that. There's so many bad Octobers where it seems like this past October was great, and Terrifier 2 seemed to have something to do with that.
Yep.
But I'm curious, because I know that you're really a big fan of this movie.
I sure am.
Mike, oh wait, actually, before we get into that, I need to state to everyone, usually we do a non-spoiler section of the show and then a spoiler section. However, this is a slasher movie, and like, the story isn't that important. The kills, I would say, are the important aspect. So I think the whole thing is going to be a spoiler review, essentially. So, you know, if you're like, ooh, I don't want you to spoil that wonderful story in Terrifier 2, then, you know, you got this nice little intro, but the rest, we're going full spoilers.
Yes, sir.
So, Mike, I know you really like this movie.
Yes, I do.
What'd you think?
I love this movie so much, and I can't figure out why. Like, I was really hesitant going in, because especially with horror movies, but in movies in general, if it's over 2 hours, it better have a damn good reason why it's over 2 hours. And when I found out this was almost 2.5 hours long,
2 hours 19 minutes.
2 hours 19 minutes, yeah, I was so weary going in, because that's why it took me so long to see The Invisible Man. It's almost over 2 hours long, and it was just it's really hard for me to, like, my concentration to watch a movie that long is just really hard for me. And so when I found out that this movie was well over that, I was hesitant, because I don't think any horror movie should be over 2 hours long at all. And so when I was watching it, I was trying to pick apart like scenes that I could probably take out, or, you know, as an editor in my mind, and there was nothing I could think of to take out. And so I just fell in love with the entire thing.
All right, so I guess it's my turn then.
Yeah, I'm interested, man.
So, I should just state, I know that this is very well loved in the horror community. Very well loved. I fucking hated this movie so much. Gracious. There are few movies that I've seen that I've disliked as much as this film. There are, I'm gonna have to like reel myself in, because of the fact that knock that down. Because of the fact that I hated this movie so I had to stop taking notes, because it was just like, it was nonstop. I'm like, what the fuck? What is that? What is that? What is? There is so many things, and so one thing, I'll start with something positive. Something a little positive.
Well, that's good. Let's do that.
I really liked Art the Clown. Really enjoyed him. I could not disagree more with your editing. There was like probably 45 minutes of stuff that was mostly watching the movie. I was just like, this is unnecessary. This is unnecessary. Why is this scene going on so long? And so there is so much stuff that from an editing standpoint bugged the shit out of me, because it felt so masturbatory. And I get it. I should have known. It's called Damien Leone's Terrifier 2. Clearly the guy's got a fucking ego, and he unearned ego too, I should say. And because great effects guy, but this is one of the worst scripts I've ever seen. The dialogue is so bad.
I don't want to hear another word about this goddamn clown.
Every line, I was just like, because it took me a while to be, because I thought that there was some bad actors at first, and I'm not in love with the lead, that Lauren Lavera. She's I would say she's like a very mid-tier actress. I don't like the things that she has to say in the film, but I think that's more because of the script versus her acting. There's only so much that you can do with like some of the stuff that she even says to her brother when her brother comes in the room and she tries to convince him that he shouldn't go as Art the Clown, where it's just like,
Jesus, what, did you grow another foot since dinner?
Tallest kid in my class.
maybe do rehearsals. Maybe do rehearsals for your movie so that then it doesn't sound like the actress is seeing these lines for the first time.
Well, I'm not trying to backpedal myself here, but when I did a third watch this week. Actually, it's my second watch this week, third in total. Her conversation with her little brother, that felt like it was that was more of a mom conversation, not like a sister conversation. So that's one thing that I gathered from that. I was like, maybe
helps. Yeah, probably helps that she looks like she's about 30. So I think that probably.
She got a lot of shit on.
Like she does. She looks way too. And again, we have that a lot in horror movies, but it's less her like full on appearance of the fact. I'm sure this girl is in her late 20s. That doesn't matter. I mean, it's more of just her vibe. Like she doesn't feel like a teenager in any way, where she's just like so on top of everything. She's a little too, I don't know, I guess emotionally under control. I feel most teenagers, especially going through the shit that she is going through, I feel like would be ramped up a little faster. And so I knew going into this. So I saw this movie way back when it came out. I watched the beginning of it and then I shut it off because I was like, clearly I'm not in the mood for it, but I had to watch it for this. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna go through it. And I will get into more stuff later because I feel like I've talked a lot and I don't want this to just be me bashing, because again, I want you guys to know. Same with, this is a big reason I wanted Mike here, because I knew that if I did dislike it, we would have someone here that did really like it, because the horror world does seem to really love this movie. So when I say this stuff, I'm not like judging. I'm not judging Mike. I'm not judging any of these people for having seen it. I want to make sure that that is clear. However, I am still going to go scorched earth on this fucking movie because I fucking hated it.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Mike,
I mean, nobody can like. You can't expect anybody to love what you love. Obviously, we've had these conversations before about other movies. I mean, I'll do agree about the Lauren Lavera. She actually, I mean, I think on Twitter she was going through some shit whenever this first came out about her age. A lot of people thought that she was maybe this 40-year-old woman.
Oh, so it was a thing?
Yeah, that was a total thing. Oh, and that was a total.
I didn't realize. I probably would have avoided that if I had known.
Yeah, but as far as her other friends, that was another thing I know. I mean, I didn't see a problem with the acting in the movie. I'm starting to chop down that maybe I just have shitty taste in movies, but her friends in high school, I thought like their conversations were very well. I mean, they actually seemed like they're like maybe in their early 20s. So they felt like kind of high school age. Brother, Jonathan. Another reason why I like this movie so much is because Jonathan reminded me of something that I was when I was that age, because at that age I was insanely obsessed with horror movies, to the point where I'd write lyrics about Michael Myers, and my mom would find these lyrics thinking that I'm possibly going to murder someone someday. And so whenever his obsession is with Art the Clown, and the conversations about the mother and Jonathan kind of took me back to that place. So it was relatable to me. Stylistically, I thought this movie was shot beautiful, man. I mean, so I'm here to defend it, and you can be here to trash it. That
brings me to a point that I think we should absolutely discuss. Shooting wise, people that have been on the channel, if you haven't been on the channel before, I'm a big Scream guy. However, I acknowledge that the first Scream is overlit. Terrifier 2 made me rethink my entire opinion on Scream being overlit, because this movie is so overlit. There is an alley shot that I'm not sure there's a single bit of darkness in. Everything is lit. And it bugged me so much of how the lack of black. It's just, I'm watching a horror movie. Why is everything lit so bright? I can practically see the LEDs just off camera, which
I'm sorry. Are you talking about the alley scene like in the very beginning where there's kind of like fog?
Yeah, there's that one. I feel like this applies to pretty much the entire movie in terms of being overlit.
Well, shoot, that one reminded me of the first Elm Street movie with when Freddy Krueger first pops up in the.
But there's darkness. At least there's darkness in it. There's stuff that you can't see. I hated how lit it was, where it's just like, is this nighttime? Is this? It bugged me so much. So, and okay. I think that this is the thing I was going to save this for the end of the episode, but I think that I need to clarify, because I think that it would help our viewers as well as you to kind of get my viewpoint in this. So we did Joe Blow Horror. We did like a best of the year list. Did not include Terrifier 2 on it, because I mentioned earlier how I watched it and shut it off. It was because of that list. I was trying to do my due diligence. However, I was like, oh yeah, I don't think that this deserves a spot on the list. And so then a really common comment is the fact that we didn't include it on there. So that alone raises my expectations to it being a very good movie. And then a lot of the reviews that I saw, a lot of 9s, a lot of 10s. So then that just raises my expectations even more. I'm thinking it's going to be award worthy. And so I think my big issue, so there was a big controversy with Mia Goth not getting nominated for Pearl. And I think that it's movies like Terrifier 2 that really do ruin the chances of like a performance like that getting nominated. Because you know what movies I saw at the top of people's list last year from the horror community? Pearl and Terrifier 2. Those a lot of the time. So then you're an outsider. You don't go get horror. You're like, I just want to see the best horror movies of the year. You put on Terrifier 2, a 2-hour and 20-minute slasher movie with bad acting. It's overlit, which you can enjoy that stuff. I like a lot of movies that have these elements. But then the fact that there's like 10 out of 10s for it, it essentially diminishes the rest of the horror genre, because it's like, which again, ratings, it's so subjective. And I think that when you're putting a movie out there as being a masterpiece in the upper echelon of, horror cinema, I think that you need to like think about the impact that has, because a movie like Terrifier 2 getting all this praise, I think it's not good for just the genre in general, because of the fact that we should expect more from it. I want silly movies like this, because it is around like the 35-minute mark that I was like, oh, it's a so bad it's good movie. Like I'm on board. That was when I finally flipped and was starting to have fun, because I think it was the Halloween store scene. Like I like when like Art like gives her bag, and like there's some funny moments in that.
I think I left my bag downstairs.
But it was the thing that made me realize, like, oh, this is a bad movie, which again, it's all subjective. Kind of turned me around on it, but then it made me also very, very annoyed, because I'm like, I'm comparing this to all the other movies that I saw last year that I would consider like top tier. And I'm like, I'm just not seeing it.
I don't think that was going for like trying to be the best horror movie ever made. I think it's a great independent like slasher movie that, the effects are so good. You caught me off guard there, Tyler. But
that's why I was gonna save it for the end. Because I'm like, this is a bit much, but I'm like, I need to get it out there, because it's like, this is why I have this opinion on it. 'Cause it's like, I'm that guy who was like, I wanted Toni Collette to be nominated for Hereditary.
Was she not nominated? I thought she was nominated.
No.
She wasn't?
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
No.
Yeah, well, she should have been nominated. I think Mia Goth should have been nominated. I don't think anything from Terrifier 2 should have been nominated. Maybe for practical effects, if that's a thing. Because I think the effects in the movie were great. But it's really hard to compare a movie like Terrifier or Terrifier 2 to like some of the upper tier movies that came out in the past couple of years, like Pearl. I thought Pearl was an was an incredible movie. I don't know if
Still, I think you saying that alone, you separated Terrifier 2 from upper tier. So I feel like that says it all.
I mean, it's not an upper tier movie, but as terms of enjoyment, like all art is subjective. So I was about to make a dad joke about art, but for this movie, man, maybe I caught it at the right time. Like I said, it's really hard for me to watch a movie that is this long, but it kept me engaged. I was never on my phone the entire time watching it. So if you can show me a movie that is that long without me looking at my phone to see what's going on else in the world, I think you sold me a solid movie.
See, and again, I want to make sure to clarify. It's just because I kept seeing it mentioned as the best movie of the year, best horror movie of the year.
Yeah.
That is why. Again, you can like this movie. Anyone can like this movie. I don't have any issues with that. I just have problems with trying to treat it like it's an awards movie when it's not.
No. I would never say this is an awards worthy movie at all. I just think when I watch movies like this, I am obviously watching it for one thing and one thing only. I'm watching it for the gore. And I thought on that front, it delivered.
So I think that's a great thing to go move on to. And I feel so, Mike, you're making me feel so bad about this because like I'm going hard into it, and then you're like, oh well, I mean, go. You love this movie, go for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will say, because the first Terrifier really affected me in terms of its effects. I thought about that movie for years. Mm-hmm. And with this movie, it wasn't until like Allie's death that I was finally like, oh, okay, yeah, this is the Terrifier violence that I expected.
Oh, yeah.
However, even there, it feels so it feels too much. Like it just goes, it's one of those things where you mentioned how you like couldn't imagine anything being edited. That scene in particular, I was just like, oh, I don't need to see Art being so joyful with all, and like this girl struggling, and like her saying, her mom walking in the room and her saying mommy, where it's just like, what's the point of this? This is literally just cruel to be cruel. Again, I don't like that. I need reason. I need like a little bit of like reason for this shit. And I think that too much of it is just, and I don't mind when it's like a moment, that's fine. But when you're making me like marinate in the moment, where it's just like, I don't need to marinate in this at all.
There was a reason. She didn't give him candy and then threw it at him. She deserved it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good reason. But then another thing too, if I see Night of the Living Dead on one more goddamn TV screen in a horror movie, I'm going to flip my shit. I'm so like, there's other public domain horror movies.
Was that Night of the Living Dead though?
Yeah.
Was it? Oh shit.
Yes.
Because I was watching, I was like, when I was rewatching, I was like, is this Night of the Living Dead again? But I didn't think it was Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I've called it out in at least 2 of my like reviews of movies where I'm like, use a different movie. Everything you like, there's other public domain horror movies at this point, especially when it's like, just stop. Everyone uses the same moments and it's always the same. I don't know, that kind of thing. Just don't like that. Don't like that.
Well, what did you like?
Let me see. Let me look at my notes. A lot of negative. I guess this is technically another negative, but the Clown Cafe, like, what was the point? What's the point of that?
Not only did I watch it again, but I watched it again with commentary, because that was one thing that I was always curious about, because when I was first watching the movie, the Clown Cafe, it dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. I was like, well, maybe this could be either cut out or cut down. After it played, it was like an earworm. Like that song would not get out of my head, and I was like, just leave it in there, it's fine. According to Damien Leone, it's pretty much, it's not necessarily a dream, but I wrote it down in my notes. It's a dream, but it's also like a manifestation, like of a test in her subconscious, trying to test if she is actually worthy to go against Art the Clown. So whenever you see the little boy going into the cereal box, like trying to get a prize, whenever everyone is getting gunned down, I'm pretty sure not going to show clips of the movie. and she's kind of struggling to get to the box, and she's reaching in the box, and there's like nothing but all this like sharp stuff and gross stuff in the box, and it's pretty much her willingness to like reach her hand in that box and then pull out the prize, which is her dad's sword that she left him. And it wasn't until like Art like took his little flamethrower and she brought it up to like blocked it, that's when the sword became more of a powerful weapon that will actually go against him later.
So I just want everyone to have listened to what Mike just said.
Yes,
this is for a slasher movie. So for anyone that hasn't seen the movie, I feel like that really properly solidifies as to why I did not like it. We have swords and like just this random shit that I'm like, why? That's honestly the thing that I kept saying throughout all of this movie was why? There's so many whys, because also too, like why, and there's so much gore, like gore's your big thing. And then, I mean, the final act is like nothing. What violence is there in that final act that actually like feels like, even the what's her name, Lauren Lavera's character, she gets stabbed, and there's, with how excessive the film is, it's so weird of how we don't see certain things, where they suddenly get classy at weird moments, like her getting stabbed. And that was another thing that I really had a problem with. And again, it goes back to the script in terms of so much of her character's arc was fate. It wasn't her overcoming anything. It was just her failing and then fate intervening. That's not what I watch a slasher movie for a final girl. I want to see them overcome and become a better person and be like, they have to overcome something. Shit, what the fuck did she overcome in this?
Well, she came her mother getting blasted in the face. So I guess now
there's just such silly stuff. And okay, you had asked me of like what I liked.
Yes.
And so there are things I liked. I really enjoyed Art the Clown.
Yes. Art
the Clown is great, and I love when he's laughing at the newspaper and it's like the head-on crash kills family of 4. Like, that's great. Then I already said how I really enjoy how Art gives her bag and does it so violently. Most of the interactions with Art and anyone in the Halloween shop were fun. I enjoyed those. Another thing that I really, really enjoyed was when Jonathan is hiding from Art. There's this real cool shot where it's looking through the cloth. I don't want to say it's the only shot I liked in the whole movie, but it's essentially one of the only shots I liked in the whole movie, because there was a bit of mystery to it, because there was actually darkness in some of the frame because you couldn't see everything. So that in particular, I liked so much. But I think that the big thing is that this movie is a prime example of why Freddy works better in the shadows, because every scene and every time that I liked something that Art was doing, he stayed on the screen like 30 seconds or sometimes like 3 minutes too long. Even the little bit with the Halloween store clerk and him, there's so much back and forth where it's like, yeah, you could have trimmed at least 2 of these like back and forths and like gotten to it quicker. In my head, there's just a lot there. For every positive, it's like it's very quickly followed up with a negative, and I don't like that. Like, I don't want to be like that. That's not a fun way to be. Maybe this caught me at a weird time. However, I can't imagine I enjoy this movie in more than like that so bad it's good way, because the things that annoyed me to such a deep down level that then I'm like, I had issues with it. But Mike, you loved it. That's fine.
I loved it, man. And that's what makes a great conversation, because I wasn't expecting to have this conversation until we talked about this movie behind me. And maybe that will come one day and I'll be more prepared. And maybe I should have asked you what was your opinion before this episode, but I'm glad we didn't, because I love I love defending a movie that I love so much. And I get why people don't like things, and I don't take it personally. I didn't make the movie, so but that's fine. But the funny thing is about the costume shop scene What I learned from the commentary was that was his inspiration from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. The when Pee-wee Herman is in the magician shop. So that like he kept throwing in a bunch of references from his favorite movies in Terrifier 2. Pee-wee's Big Adventure was one of them. Obviously, The Exorcist was one of them with the pale girl when in the scene where stuff drops out of her at the laundry mat. Yeah. So you know more about this. I feel like I need to use this as like a soundboard in terms of questions. Who's that girl? What's her significance to the story? All right, so the pale girl is an entity who pretty much resurrected him. Like instead of using some other supernatural entity, he wanted to use more of a character that resurrects him, because at the end of Terrifier was I think he blows his brains out, right? In the first Terrifier. It's been a minute since I watched it. Been like 5 years since I've seen it. Yeah, I know he gets killed. Yeah, I think he blows his brains out at the end of Terrifier, and that's why it opens it, and he has like chunks of his skull missing. But okay. Yeah, she represents evil in a more character form, and she resurrects him. And she's like this deity that just follows him around again, something that you'll see in a 2-hour and 19-minute slasher movie. To be fair, I don't mind that. She's one of the more interesting aspects, where then I think that one of the things that then annoyed me about it was from and the reason that I enjoyed her was that they don't really explain her. Like, clearly the information that you're giving me right now is from the commentary, not from the film itself. Yeah, it's from the commentary, and I guess that's something that we'll elaborate more on in Terrifier 3, which we'll talk about that when that comes out. But the thing that I love about that with someone else. Yeah, but I loved the little girl. I thought she was fantastic, and I found out that she was only 9 or 10 years old when they filmed this movie. And I was like, that's how old my kid is. It's so weird to look at this little girl doing like this such morbid type character and like all these awful things. And it's what a world we live in now. Yeah, the makeup job on her was great. Mm-hmm. I really liked that. Yeah, they did a good job with her. There's I don't have any other stuff to talk about with this. I feel like this whole thing has just been me bitching and you just like cowering in a corner. I'm not cowering, man. I'll stand up. No, I will straight up say I think Terrifier 2 was probably it's not my favorite movie of the year, but it is definitely probably in my top 5, and I will stand by that. But I should say too, so the reason that Mike is so shell-shocked by this is I made sure, not only did I hide it, but I made sure to really hide it and was not giving any kind of clue as to what you're sending me text messages with a drink in your hand saying I'm watching Terrifier 2. I'm like, fuck yeah, man, me too. I was like, we're going to have a great conversation. We actually did have a great conversation, but not the conversation I was hoping we would have, but it's still a good one. The score, I'm a huge fan of the score. Especially right when it cuts to the title card, Sienna is making her costume, and that whatever that synthwave song comes on. Yeah, man, that shit got me pumped up. Honestly, I can't say that I even like registered the score. It would probably take another viewing. What's the score? Is it like John Carpenter type, like synth? That John Carpenter synthwave type music that's going along now. Like is it just synthwave or is it John Carpenter? Because I feel it's still a difference. Well, it's synthwave, but like the horror, like the dark synth. Like dark synth. Okay. Yeah, that type of. I just want to make sure to clarify, because I'm like, well, I mean, when I say John Carpenter synth, I'm like, is it John Carpenter synth versus like, because I feel like everyone nowadays says like John Carpenter. It was the same type of music that was in Halloween Ends, especially whenever Corey is with Allison on the motorcycle. Whenever that song, I think from Boy Harsher comes on, that's that same type of synth music that I really like. Honestly, I like synth in terms of the John Carpenter style, and because you mentioned Halloween Ends, because at first when you said Halloween, because I was like, I thought you meant 2018, because like that whole soundtrack, I've listened to that so many times. Oh man, that soundtrack's awesome. I genuinely couldn't tell you. I don't remember a single thing from Halloween Ends in terms of its soundtrack. Like I don't remember anything standing out. So that's just a missing part in my memory at this point, because I was focused on other things. It wasn't really John Carpenter's score that really got me. It was more the the actual.
It's a song.
Like, yeah, the song's by Boy Harsher.
I didn't. Yeah.
It's a duo. They're pretty good. It's pretty solid. Check them out.
You're the one that loves this movie. Fucking talk about the shit you love. I talk about the shit I hate. Let's go over the shit you love.
You say that there is too much Art the Clown in the movie. Apparently, like he'd be better in the shadows. You're watching Terrifier 2, obviously not for the story. You're here for Art the Clown and the kills. And that's exactly what you got. That's what you are delivered. And I think it delivered on its promise. I mean, you can't get better. I think the effects, again, I keep going back to effects. Let me take it back. Okay, so my wife, she watches a bunch of true crime stories, like a Dateline and stuff like that. That shit scares the bejesus out of me. And she doesn't understand how I can't watch that stuff, but yet I'll watch stuff like Terrifier 2. She still refuses to watch it, and after this episode, I guarantee you she will never watch it in her life.
I'm Mike's wife, sorry.
And what I tell her is, I watch this, like the true stuff, that scares me more than anything. When I watch these movies, I watch it blown away, but like how a person can make these things, like whenever he's going to town on Allie and like pretty much tearing her arm like as a chicken wing. Like it's impressive how they do stuff like that. It's just so impressive, and that's what I get my enjoyment out of. And it just so happens that I got a decent story about a brother and a sister out of it. And because this is stuff that I feel like I related to as having an older siblings and having these same type of conversations. And maybe I just related it to it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I get that. Relating to it is a huge aspect of it. And like, I don't have a sister. So that aspect I don't relate to. My parents were super supportive of my horror love. So
yeah,
again, something I don't really relate well with. And though I will say, so you bring up a good point in that, and I think that's I don't want one of my criticisms to be misconstrued. So I should say too, I think the effects are good throughout. I think it's just a matter of, because I'm a big behind the scenes guy. I'll watch stuff. So then it's like, you'll see the behind the scenes of some crazy gore effect where it's like, oh, we only saw this little part of it, and they do so much more with it. And I think that's a director being like, okay, we need to, for the story itself, we need to leave it down. We need to have it, ramped down a little bit here, because then this reveal later on won't have as big of an effect if we don't have a ramp up. Meanwhile, I think one of the issues with this movie, since Leon does the effects as well, is that he doesn't have that separation where then he feels like he needs to show everything, and so that's why everything goes up so big. Which again, maybe he probably has like a team that's doing it, but he has a team doing it now. Yeah, I mean it more in terms of a effects thing, and because it's just like in the first movie, it was very excessive in terms of its violence, but I didn't have an issue with it there because it was like, again, it was a dumb slasher movie. In this movie, they're like trying to add all this mythology to it where it almost feels like it's trying to be bigger than what it is. So then I'm like, what? Why are we wasting so much time with this dumb side stuff? Just give me the cool slash. Like I guarantee you, cut 45 minutes off this movie. I'm like, we had this conversation and I'm just like, yeah, that's a fucking fun time.
I'm challenging, man. I'm challenging you. Do a 45-minute cut out of this movie.
Not 45 minutes. I said cut 45 minutes.
Cut out 45 minutes of this movie. I'm going to challenge you.
Oh, you think I want to spend time with this movie for that long? I won't watch this movie again for another decade.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Based on this rash. I might. I don't know. I might. It's in that's the thing with this movie, since I do consider it in the so bad genre where I'm like, I might end up revisiting. But again, I don't really it's not like I don't have a passionate opinion on it, despite how animated I've been during this. It's more of just, trying to make a point rather than actually caring all that much.
No, I totally get you.
I'll forget about this.
I totally agree. I mean, I get you, man. A lot of people were putting this thing up on a pedestal, saying like it deserves all kinds of awards. And I'm still here saying that it's a great movie. It's not a great movie that deserves any type of insane 10-star praise that it's been getting. If I'm going to rate this thing as an enjoyment for myself personally, I would give this thing an 8.
You can give it a 10. You're
No. I'm
don't
gonna
be
give it an
afraid.
8. No. I'm giving it an 8 because there's a couple things in this movie that I thought could be a little bit different than what it was, and it's mainly these scenes that are in the kitchen. For some reason, it looks like a really bad independent movie. And that's the only thing negative I'm going to say in the movie, because everything else I thought was great. I think the interactions between her and her high school friends are great. That they felt like real conversations. Most of the conversations between her and her brother Jonathan, I thought they were wonderful. Elliot
What
Pullman,
about her mom?
her mom.
I think she's the worst actress in the whole movie.
She's not as bad as the mom in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. Was it Ronnie Cox? Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Still, seeing their mother, I thought their mother is going to live through the whole thing because their father was dead, but no, she got her brains blown out also.
Yeah, quick too.
Yeah, very, very quick. And that scene with when she's kind of reconnected with her mother towards the end, you know, they take it or leave it. So that's the only reason I'll give it an 8 instead of a 10. And
okay,
what's yours, bud?
So, my rating, I understand the whole personal enjoyment versus, whatever, how you would critically rate this. But for me, honestly, I've been so just ingrained with that kind of stuff that it's always been the same for me for the most part. So I would give this a 3 out of 10. However, I could see it going up a little bit, but also I've said on the show before, the middle ground is where I hate. The 4s, 5s, and 6s are the ones that I would consider like less rewatchable than like the 3, 2, 1s. I'll watch those more than anything. So
yeah, well, I'll take
just
a 3
because I wasn't a fan, it doesn't mean anything.
No offense here. I respect your opinion, and I can see your issues, and maybe one day you'll see my positives. Maybe I'm hoping, dude, trust me, when Terrifier 3 releases, I'll be rooting for it because I love the first one, and I had even seen, it might have been a producer, it might have been Leone himself, they had said something of like, we want to get back to the roots of the original. So to me, I'm like, oh, I'm intrigued by that, because did you ever see the stuff they added? Did you ever see All Hallows Eve? Yes. Okay. Yeah, okay. I like that segment. Like, I think it's that segment alone, I think that's the whole reason I watched Terrifier. I really like that part, and yeah, there's intriguing elements of it. I think Art the Clown has a lot of potential, and I think the main key thing is to not overcomplicate him, which I kind of worry. I think that this movie kind of overcomplicated him a bit, and so I'm hoping that then they are able to, rein that in a bit. But yeah. That's another reason. That's another reason why I'm only giving it an 8, because there's another thing that annoyed me, and you pointed this out earlier, the fact that it's called Damien Leone's Terrifier 2. I think that is it's very annoying when someone does that. Adam Green did it with Hatchet, and I just thought that was I thought that was very, very, very masturbatory. I don't like it when someone puts their name on front of it like that, because it might be your idea, but it's not your movie. It's a whole crew of people. Yeah, whenever you say a film by, no, it's a film by a whole crew. I could not agree more. All right, so I feel like we pretty much covered it. You clearly are a fan of this movie, and I am clearly not, which that's fine. That's fine. It happens. Love what you love, man. I think that the main thing to remember with all of this is that I don't personally hate you if you like this movie. I feel like a lot of reviews, people take them very, very personally when someone doesn't like something, and I want everyone to react like Mike, where they're not offended by what I'm saying. No, so, not at all. And if you are offended, then sorry, and maybe we'll watch something that doesn't offend you in the future. But Mike, any final thoughts on Terrifier 2? Other than the fact that I obviously love the movie and I think it's perfect the way it is, minus a couple things. The only way I would be offended is if you're spending all this time with me and you're just on your phone the entire time. I'd rather you just walk out the movie and let me enjoy it by myself. I couldn't agree more, because I think that that's one thing. It's very annoying when you find out that someone, like, yeah, they watched a movie, but I mean, they were on their phone 90% of the time, where they didn't really watch it. Like, yeah, that's too much.
So I gave this movie my full attention. I can't, to be fair, the second time I watch it, you know, it might be on, I might have my phone out texting some buddies, but you know, I'll still try it out. There's
it better
still
be,
things
hey,
that,
Mike actually enjoyed this scene that's coming up right here.
I'll tell you right now, the only way I'll watch this again in the next, whatever, 10 years is if you and I watch it together, because I can't imagine this would ever come up otherwise.
Yeah.
But that's really all for this week. We're not going to do, again, I had a trailer reaction planned, but we talked so long that I don't feel like we really need it, because we don't need it. So that's really all. Hope that you guys enjoyed this Terrifier 2 review. Let me know in the comments what you thought of it. Do you side with Mike? Do you side with me? I think there's going to be more on Mike's side. That's fine. And next week, I'm real excited for this one. This movie just came out on Peacock. We are covering Knock at the Cabin, and it will be with special guest Andrew Hatfield, who was on last week. So should be very fun. I'm very excited for it. And that's really all. Mike, any closing words?
Have a great time with Knock at the Cabin, man. That movie's awesome. And speaking of awesome, check out Terrifier 2.
There we go. See? And we'll see you all next week. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Bye.